Good morning, everyone. The Transportation and Commerce Committee will now be called to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaquero.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Chairman Cone.
Present.
5 present, you have quorum.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you also please excuse Alderman Boyd for necessary absence?
Be providing the compilation.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I'm here.
he's here. Can you actually add him to the attendance roster as being present?
Will do.
Thank you, Alderman. So we actually had on the agenda for this morning the discussion of nominees for the Airport Arts Committee. I've been told by the mayor's office that they were not able to coordinate schedules with the nominees for today. So I'm working with them to reschedule those here, the meeting where we'll hear from them, be able to introduce ourselves and them to the committee to be able to hear more about their backgrounds. So we'll continue to make some progress on that, and hopefully obviously not at this meeting, but in a meeting hopefully before we adjourn for the spring recess, we'll be able to take up their nominations. The mayor's office does have a presentation though that they want to provide. I'll kind of entertain that later after we get through. I believe there's 4 board bills on our calendar for this morning. So we'll go ahead and start with those. The first board bill that is item number 1 on our agenda is number 187. So that would be related to the airport. And I believe we have Director Hamneberger. Oh, excuse me, Rhonda, I really messed that up. And Antonio and Robert.
Yeah, good morning, Chairperson. Yeah, Rob Salarano will present this one, and I'm also on for any questions that may come up. I apologize, my camera this morning is not working for some reason, so I've got IT coming down to look at that. But Rob, you can present.
Good morning, Aldermen, Alderwomen. We respectfully request your approval of Board Bill 187. This board bill requests a change to the airport solicitation process for concessions. Aldermen and alderwomen who have been on the T&C board for a while know that most of our concessions come in and we ask for concessionaires to bid the minimum annual guarantee amount. The current ordinance only allows that process where they write the number, the minimum annual guarantee amount on the bottom line, and we go by the bid amount and the highest and best bid. This ordinance allows for the addition of a request for proposal process where the airport would set up a selection committee similar to the way that the Board of Public Service does it now with 5 members. And those 5 members would review proposals from interested concessionaires. This is really the industry standard throughout the airport industry. When I talk to various concessionaires and the national and regional concession groups, I have to explain the bid process to them in St. Louis. It's not something they're accustomed to at all. It allows for greater creativity and flexibility from concession operators. They're able to put their best foot forward and really design a program that's customer friendly and isn't just focused on a minimum annual guarantee number. It also will open it up for more mid-sized companies to be involved. There's a lot of mid-sized concession operators out of there that would really be interested in working in St. Louis. But with the high bid amounts and minimum annual guarantee being the thing we really look at in the current process, it's difficult for them to compete. The only other thing I'll add is this only adds the option. Some concessions will continue to be let by minimum annual guarantee bid, and it doesn't change the approval process. Each agreement will go to the Airport Commission, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, and the Board of Aldermen, depending on which is appropriate. And we respectfully request your approval.
And if I may, Rob, you might want to give just an example of a concession that would still be a solicitation for bid, like the luggage carts or something.
Sure. There's a number of concessionaires where it's really not a number of concessions where the primary driver is going to be finance, really in differentiating the concession operators. The airport director mentioned luggage carts. Another one is ATM service providers. Banking concession would also likely be led by solicitation for bid, and possibly vending. And those are just some examples.
Did we lose our chairman? Oh, no.
I don't know.
My
very
apologies.
much.
I've got a frog in my throat this morning, so I was muting because I've been coughing a little bit. We'll go ahead and take questions from the committee. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaquero.
No, I really don't. I mean, one of the things, just keep, the MBE, DBE participation on these things are always important, but no, I have no questions, but just, I wouldn't mind seeing that, especially when a lot of these things go out for bid. And it seems like, and I guess I was really, when we did the wine thing that went out, I was a little concerned, about the MBE, DBE. So anyway, it's just a comment, not a question. I'm fine.
Okay. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Narayan.
No questions on this one. Thanks.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions, thanks.
I'll entertain a motion on board bill number 187.
So moved.
Second.
In previous role.
Technically, I didn't make a recommendation
Oh.
for a motion there, so you can't really so move
Oh,
it.
okay, then I will make a motion. We pass board-
around the geospatial sector. So I'd say that's
Someone's not on mute.
No, I'll make a motion then I'll just change the motion. I'll make a motion. We pass board bill 187 out with a do pass recommendation
Second.
in previous role.
Thank you, Alderman. This is actually the first vote that we're taking because I failed to bring the meeting minutes from the previous.
Oh, I'm sorry.
meeting.
I thought that was.
So
Never mind.
no, we can't do previous role, but it's been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd Ward that we do pass board bill 187 out, or pass out board bill 187 with a do pass recommendation. It's been seconded by the Alderwoman from the 13th Ward. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd,
aye. And others.
Alderman Vaquero,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Aye.
Chairman Cone.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that vote, you sustain the motion to pass board bill 187 out with a do pass recommendation. The next item on the agenda is board bill number 199. That's a bill relating to the Port Authority, sponsored by Alderman Coder. Unfortunately, Alderman Coder is not able to attend this morning. He's asked that the Port Authority present the board bill in his stead. Do we have, I see James Morrow and Roland Comfort and Tom Ray are signed up to speak on the bill. Are any of the three here?
James Morrow is here.
Hi, James. Good morning.
Morning.
Would you mind just presenting the board bill number 199?
Certainly. So myself and Roland Comfort from the Port Authority are here, as is Tom Ray, our outside counsel, in case anyone has questions. Board Bill 199 authorizes an extension to an existing lease with Consolidated Grain and Barge. This is for land and mooring along the Mississippi River in South St. Louis. The lease started back in 2007. It encompasses about 60,000 square feet of land and 825 linear feet of mooring. It was for a 10-year initial term, followed by 3 5-year mutual options to extend. The city and the lessee have since executed the first initial option to extend. So this is their request to execute the second 5-year option to extend. So the lease would be extended until March 17, 2027. There is no change to the linear or square footage of the leasehold. The rent is increasing. It's going from about 26,000 per year up to 68,000 per year, and then increasing by 3% for each year thereafter for the 5 years of the extension. The lease amendment has been reviewed and approved by both the Port Commission and Board of Public Service, and we respectfully request that the Transportation and Commerce Committee approve it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. We'll go ahead and entertain question, or Mr. Ray or Comfort, do either of you have anything additional?
And they do that primarily in North St. Louis. So
thank you, whoever just muted. Mr. Ray, Mr. Comfort, do either of you have anything additional to add before we take questions?
Nothing more at this time.
Okay, great. Questions from the committee. Alderman Boyd.
No questions.
Alderman Vaquero.
No questions.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. That's definitely a really large increase in the rent. Last time we had a meeting, we talked a little bit about how these sort of leases weren't necessarily looked at and increased in an appropriate way. So should we be expecting a lot more of these to come through here with, this is a, what, $40,000 increase in rent? Is this just going to be a very, very common thing we're going to be seeing?
I would say yes, in principle. We have certain milestones baked into our leases that will allow us to come back and renegotiate some of the rents. And as those milestones come up, we're going to be talking with our lessees about, if the rent is not at around where we feel the market is, we'll be discussing with them an increase. Those I can check. I think we have a handful that should be coming up for 2022. So to the extent that those are before the board, I would expect there to be, or before the Transportation and Commerce Committee, I would expect there to be some increase.
Thank you very much. That's good news for our city coffers. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be my follow-up question to that, James. And I'm not sure if you would be better to answer this, or if Susan or Director Richardson would be, more appropriate. But with the increases in revenue, where do those funds go? So, I think for the benefit of folks on the call, the Port Authority kind of acts a little bit separately from, general revenue and whatnot. So are you able to kind of illuminate that for the people who might be listening in, or, should I call upon, Neil or Susan to participate in a future meeting to kind of explain the, funds, where funds for the Port Authority go?
I can give it a shot. My understanding is that the funds go into the rents that are received go into a fund that is held by the city for use in the Port District. I'm not sure, Tom, if you have any other insight into that. Otherwise, we may need to see if we can request Susan or our comptroller give the committee that information.
I think that best addressed by the Port Director, Susan Taylor.
Yeah, I agree. I'll request that she come to a future meeting to kind of give an overview of that for members of the committee. Any other questions from the committee? I am not seeing any hands up. I will entertain a motion to pass out board bill number 199 with a due pass recommendation.
So moved. This time we did it right.
It
Previous
has
roll.
been moved by the alderman from the 23rd, seconded, I believe, by the alderman from the 24th, that we pass out board bill number 199 with a due pass recommendation. There's been a call for previous roll. Is there an objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection, board bill number 199 passes out with a due pass recommendation. The next item on the agenda is board bill number 204. It's been sponsored by Alderwoman Lisa Middlebrook. Alderwoman, would you like to present board bill number 204?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board Bill number 204 authorizes an amendment to ordinance number 67299, which authorized a new lease agreement dated February 9, 2007 with the city of St. Louis and Alberici. This is for land mooring along the riverfront of the Mississippi River. And it's for a period of 10 years with 3 5-year mutual options. And it authorizes the First Amendment to said lease agreement to exercise the second 5-year mutual option and for increasing rent from $93,000 plus to $115,000 plus for the first year and increasing annually thereafter. And Martin is here for to answer. And I'm sorry, I have someone home from school to answer any questions if the committee has any questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alderwoman. Mr. Ray, Mr. Morrow, do either of you have anything additional to add before we take questions from the committee?
Yeah, I might be able to add a little bit more flavor to the committee's understanding here. The board bill is authorizing a second extension to a lease agreement. It's structurally, this lease is very similar to the one that the committee just approved. It started in 2007 for an initial 10-year term. There were 3 5-year mutual extensions baked into the terms of the lease. The lessee and the city executed the first one previously. They're back here to execute the second one now. The rents for this leasehold, we were doing a step up for the lessee. So it's going from $93,000 to $115,000 for the first year, and then increases to $140,000 for the second year, $165,000 for the third year, then increases by 3% for years 4 and 5. So we are slowly bringing the lessee up to where we feel the market is. And there is no change to the linear foot or square footage or the use of the leasehold.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Questions from the committee, Alderman Boyd.
With that acclamation. No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Alderman Vaquero.
No questions.
Alderwoman Middlebrook, you wouldn't have any questions about your own bill, I'm sure. Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions.
Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to pass board bill number 204 out with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
In previous roll.
Okay. It's been moved by the alderman from the 23rd ward that we pass board bill 204 out with a due pass recommendation. It's been seconded by the alderman from the 22nd ward. There's been a motion for previous roll. Is there an objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection to previous roll, board bill number 204 passes out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Next up on the agenda is board bill number 205. That is also sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board Bill 205 authorizes a consent to assignment, which assigns an existing lease agreement between the city of St. Louis and Grossman Century Company, formerly known as Grossman Iron and Steel Company, to Advantage Metals Recycling LLC. And this is for land near 21 through 9 and 14 North Market at 2226 North First Street. And this is for a period of 10 years, which began on December 1st, 2021, with 3 5-year mutual options for the purpose of providing a turning radius to access the assigner's adjacent facilities parking of the assigner's trucks, vehicles, trailers, and storage at an annual base rent of $23,856 per year, escalating by 2% per year thereafter for the first 10 years. And I don't know if Roland Comfort is still here to answer any questions that may be asked by the committee.
I am, if I can figure out to get my picture on. To add just a bit of color, actually, this property is located at the river at North Market Street in the area of the produce row. The Grossman operation requires a bit of parking for vehicles for their employees, which comprises part of this. It's a plot of land about the size of a couple of tennis courts. And then there's a larger portion of land that previously was unused, in which Grossman, before they were acquired, cleared that area and installed rock. And they primarily store their bins and their trailers that are not in use at the time. So that generally is the visual picture of what's there.
So this is I'm just this is one of the I'm at a loss for words here. It's one of the non-benefits of meeting virtually. Typically, we would be able to have a map of the Port Authority districts and where these things are. So I'm trying to visualize this. So this is. Did you say it's north of Produce Row?
It is east.
Okay. So I'm familiar with like
Row.
the Grossman, the old Grossman property that's along the levee.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. But were you saying that this is adjacent to that property then?
The property being leased is previously unused city property that is adjacent to the Grossman property.
Okay. Okay.
And the lease is for the purpose of them to park their automobiles from their employees, and also to park trailers and bins and that sort of thing that they use for the collection of metal. These are unused stored bins.
Okay. So this is west of the levee, east of Produce Row, but I would imagine, I think that's just south of their current location then, right?
It is adjacent and just south, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I am curious, Roland, because it's come up in a few committee hearings lately, just about the like environmental impacts. They do a lot of different types of work over there. Has the levee ever been breached in that area? I mean, because I would think that like with some of the activity that they do, there might be some environmental concerns if the river were to like overcome the levee in that area.
I'm not
just with
aware.
Grossman.
I'm not aware that it has Grossman, as well as our own warehouse at number 5 Clinton, which is right in that vicinity, is on the city side of the flood wall.
Yeah.
So none of that has been breached.
Do we do or require, I know in the past, we've had conversations around, the requirement of like environmental concerns and that type of language and our lease agreements with folks, but Have we done any type of testing on this site in terms of just like leaching into soil that could potentially go into the river, like underneath the levee system?
I don't have any information on that. However, this particular lease is not really connected with their operation. It is city property that is adjacent, that is being used for parking.
Okay.
I can't say that all of the operations along the river are required by the various environmental agencies to keep literally stacks of binders of processes that are renewed and reviewed annually. But
Is that a
than
requirement? Is that a requirement from the city's perspective, or the EPA, or the Army Corps of Engineers? I know is also involved with the river.
James can probably speak better to it, but
Yeah, I might be able to answer that, Mr. Chairman. I'm not
Sure.
sure about Grossman's operations because they are on their own lands. For all of the companies that we have operating in the Port District, it is fairly standard language to include in their lease agreements that they must comply with all state, local, and federal applicable regulations and ordinances. So to the extent that there is a company that is part of an industry regulated by the Clean Water Act or Clean Air Act or Army Corps, they need to obtain those necessary permits and present them upon request to the Port Commission or Port Authority.
Great. Okay. Thank you both for the clarification. We'll go ahead and move forward with additional questions from the committee. Alderman Boyd.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Vaquero.
No questions.
Alderwoman Middlebrook, I almost did it again. Alderman Narayan.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
No questions.
All right, I will entertain a motion that we pass board bill number 205 out with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Either one, I'm good with either.
Okay, it's been moved by the alderman from the 23rd ward that we pass board bill 205 out with a due pass recommendation. It's been seconded by the alderman from the 22nd ward. Did I hear a call for previous roll?
Previous roll, yeah.
Okay, there's been a motion for previous roll. Is there an objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection to previous roll, board bill number 205 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Thank you very much. So the second item on our agenda this morning, actually, I'm going to go back and
I was going to ask that.
The approval of the meeting minutes from our February 16th meeting. Are there any questions or concerns about the minutes from February 16th, 2022? If there are none, I will entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from our February 16th meeting.
I will make a motion. We approve the minutes from the February 16th meeting.
Second.
And previous roll on that.
Great. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes from February 16th of the Transportation and Commerce Committee. There's been a second. A request for previous roll. Is there an objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection to previous roll, the meeting minutes are approved. So going into item number 2 on our agenda, the mayor's office has asked to be able to present on the new process that they're rolling out for mayoral boards and commissions and the appointments thereof. I believe we have Angela, Sarah, and Michelle available for the presentation this morning.
Good morning. Yes, we're here. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and pull up the PowerPoint.
Great. Good morning, Angela. All
right, can everyone see my screen? Can everyone hear me?
You are online fully.
Wonderful. Again, good morning. I'm Angela Pearson. I serve as Special Projects Manager for Mayor Tashara Jones. Like Alderman Cone mentioned, I'm joined today by my colleagues, Michelle Knox, who is the Boards and Commissions Manager, and Sarah Baker, who is our Deputy Chief of Staff. We're going to talk to you today about the process that we took to update our Boards and Commissions website and update the application. Again, thank you so much for having us here today. We're excited to chat with you. Before we jump into the conversation today, I want to give a brief overview of what we're going to discuss. We're going to take a look at the boards and commissions, their current state. We're going to talk about the demographic data of the Jones appointees that we've been able to make. We're going to share our goals for this project and share the updates that we've made to the process. We're also going to talk about the development timeline, how we completed this project, and give insight on our recruitment strategy. And then lastly, we'll end with questions. There are 192 boards and commissions that are operating in the city of St. Louis. That's a combination of citywide, regional, CIDs, and SPD boards. On those boards, there are different requirements, but everyone must apply with the uploading of their resume. They must be updated to their taxes. They also have to complete a background check as a part of our screening process. And depending on the board position, it might also require mayoral approval or a BOA vote. Of those that are currently serving, 211 are SLAE appointees, 526 are Cruisen appointees, and a large majority of Cruisen appointees are reappointments from the SLAE administration. And during our time in office, we've been able to appoint 76 individuals to boards and commissions. There are 354 folks serving beyond term, and there are 120 vacancies. Now let's take a look at what we've been able to do while we're in office. The Jones administration values a diverse board and commission, and so we want St. Louis to thrive. Anyone, regardless of their color of their skin, who they love, how they worship, we want our boards and commissions to reflect that, and we know that they are going to help us in achieving that goal. So we approach that in mind when we think about how we do our gender for demographics for our gender as well. So that, of the 76 that we've been able to appoint, 31 were male and 45 appointed were women. And so with this in mind, when we think about having a diverse board that reflects St. Louis, that helped shape our goals for this project. And so first, we wanted to increase transparency and provide more information about our boards and commissions. We wanted to simplify the application process and bring it into the 21st century. And creating an online portal was absolutely essential in making that happen. We also wanted to be inclusive, as I mentioned. We wanted voices from all across the city, from all geographic parts of the city, from different racial backgrounds to be a part of this process. And that's all being done in an effort to make St. Louis a more inclusive home for everyone. So let's talk about what the application process looked like before. It was a completely paper application. You had to go to the website, download a PDF document, fill it out, scan it, and send an email to Michelle Knox. That required a lot of email correspondence and back and forth, and it just wasn't a really seamless process. There was also a lack of transparency. There was little to no information about what the boards did, what the responsibilities are, what the requirements were to serve on a board, and there was no information about who was serving on the boards and commissions. There was also limited awareness from the public that there were opportunities to serve. And so from this project, we realized there is a general need for community outreach and education about what civic engagement looks like and how one can really get involved. And so from that, we've been able to make some updates. As I mentioned before, the process was completely reliant on paper. And so we worked with the web team to create an online portal. And that portal includes features where you can upload your resume, where you can upload your tax documents, and you can also track the process or the progress of your application. There's now increased transparency. You can view online who is serving on the board. You can see their expiration of their terms. As I mentioned, there's a large number of folks serving beyond term, and we're using this new process to identify boards that are in need of updates so that we can intentionally and actively recruit for boards to address this problem. The site has more information on the boards and commissions themselves. You can view the description of the board and read what they do. You can see the requirements for service, and you can read the authorizing legislation related to that board. And lastly, we did our research and we followed best practices to update our application so that it reflects the more inclusive language and has opportunities for folks to identify who they are. For example, the previous application only had 2 options for gender, male or female. Now in our new updated system, we've expanded the gender options to include non-binary, transgender, other, or you can prefer not to say. We've also added new language around sexual orientation, veteran status, and ability. All of these questions are voluntary, but we've asked them so that we can learn more about the applicants so that we can ensure that our boards and commissions are diverse. Here's a screenshot of the new website. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please go and look at it. But essentially our new website is user-friendly and it's a one-stop shop for all things boards and commissions related. That's something we haven't had before. So let's take a look at how we got here. We weren't able to make this change overnight. And in fact, we started this process back in July of 2021 when we got the assignment to revamp our system. And so we conducted research looking at examples from other cities. New York and Kansas City were some of the top 2 models that we really learned a lot from. And from that, we were able to develop our goals. Following our research in August, we made edits to our application. Like I mentioned, we needed to include more inclusive language. So we made edits to do that. We also had a meeting with our web team to talk about what we wanted to accomplish and just kind of get a general oversight or overview of what this project would look like. In September, we continued to work with the web team to identify what features we could build within our existing CityWorks system. And we also talked about what the back end process would look like. And from that, they were able to then build this new system. And that took from October to January for them to build and test the new system. And so in February, earlier this month, we were able to launch, and we did that with a press release, and we shared this information with the Board of Aldermen and some community recruitment partners that we'll be working with. And we're going to talk about them a little bit later. So let's take a look at our recruitment strategy. As I mentioned, we want to work with some civic or engagement organizations and neighborhood groups. And we want to work with them because we know there's a lot of vacancies and there's a large number of folks serving beyond term. And so our recruitment strategy will be key in helping us address that issue and bring in new residents to serve. We want to partner with these organizations to help raise awareness. They can help us identify diverse talent. And we want to make sure that we're also being intentional about geographic representation and balance on our boards and commissions as well. We want people from North City, South City, and the City Center to feel welcome to serve. Our partners will also help us with promotion. We had a lunch and learn last week on the 17th, where we talked to folks about what it means to serve on a board and commission. And these civic organizations were able to help us spread that message. And as I mentioned, we officially launched earlier this month. We launched on February 3rd. We sent out a press release and an email to the Board of Aldermen outlining our new system. And we also sent a follow-up email to the Board of Aldermen on the 15th, a few days before our lunch and learn, as a reminder, and giving them the opportunity to share this information with their residents, with their networks, so that folks could attend as well. Here's a look at our community recruitment partners. It's a diverse array of organizations across the city, but this is not an exhaustive list. We know that this work is an ongoing project. We want this list to grow. And so our community partners are working with us to recruit people from all across the city. As I've mentioned, North, South, and City Center. We want a diversity in race, gender, sexual orientation, ability, education background. We know that due to the lack of transparency and awareness, there are a lot of people who have never really considered civic engagement And so we want to talk to people who might have, be considering serving on a board or commission for the first time. And our Lunch and Learn was an opportunity for us to do that. Like I mentioned, we had that Lunch and Learn on February 17th. It was a Lunch and Learn, so it was held during the noon hour. And the registration link was posted on the city's website. It was also listed in our press release. We shared that with our civic engagement partners as well. And we've had about 60 folks attend, which was a great turnout for us. During that Lunch and Learn, we partnered with the Appointments Project. It's an initiative that is aiming to increase the number of women and women of color who serve on boards and commissions, which is a demographic that we really want to include as a part of our recruitment process. We talked about the value of serving on a board and commission. We talked about the application process. And they were also able to interact and engage with a new serving board member, SLPS board member, Alicia Saunier joined. She shared her experience about being a first-time board member. And there was a really great dialogue and discussion about what that experience looked like for folks. And so lastly, we look forward to working with the Board of Aldermen and collaborating with you. We look forward to getting your submissions and your nominations. Continue to reach out to Michelle or Kevin Bailey with those names, and then also continue to share this information with your ward constituents. During your ward meetings, if you see a constituent or resident that's showing leadership potential or just really involved, and you might tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, have you thought about serving on a board and commission? And we want to work with you to grow our boards and to make St. Louis a better place. So with that, I'll end my presentation. And thank you for having us here today. And please, by all means, feel free to ask us any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Angela. It's really nice to have you all here. And I'm just going to kind of add, I've been down at the Board of Aldermen for over 13 years now, and it's really amazing to see the progress that you all have made over the last year and making this process more open and transparent. I applaud those efforts. It's something that has personally frustrated me as an alder person over the years. I remember having these conversations with the Slay administration. And I remember specifically that they were, and these things take time, but before the Slay administration, they didn't even have a database for boards and commissions. That was a huge effort at that time just to get everything documented and put into an Excel spreadsheet. But of course, I'm not even sure, between administrations, how much of that information ends up, transferring between administrations as well. But this is by far a wonderful undertaking and something that I haven't seen in the last 13 years. So I'm certainly hoping that it's something that we can sustain and, continue. Because to your point, it's really important for, civic engagement and making sure that our citizens are aware of how the city works and what's available to them in terms of being able to get involved. And it doesn't always mean that you have to run for public office. You can actually be involved, at a neighborhood level or with a, different more ideological base, or even work related type of board or commission. So, whether it's, libraries or public health or, development or zoning or whatever, we've got so many boards and commissions. I had no idea that we had 192 of them.
It's a lot.
That's incredible. So that's the first time that I've seen that number in 13 years. So kudos to you and the team. I know Michelle has been working on boards and commissions for a long time. So just thank you for all of your work this past year and coordinating, organizing, and getting to the place that we are today. So with that, I'll entertain motions or questions from the committee. I'm not sure if we have any alder people from outside of the committee that have signed on. I do see Alderwoman Rice. So we'll go ahead, take questions from the committee if there are any, and then I'll entertain questions from any other alder people that have joined the call as well. So Alderman Boyd.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Angela. We were supposed to do appointments today. I had actually never heard of the arts, the Airport Advisory Arts Commission. Can you tell me a little bit about what do they do?
Chairman, would you like me to answer that?
I was going to say, I think Rhonda's still on the
Oh,
line.
okay.
Yeah, ready.
Rhonda is very familiar with it. I'd be happy for you to do so, Rhonda.
Good morning, Rhonda.
Yeah, so and first of all, I guess just on behalf of, and I think this is great too. I think there was a lot of confusion. The Art Advisory Committee that I had, had been told that those appointments had been approved a couple of months ago. So they didn't understand they needed to be on the call this morning, nor did I. So I'll take responsibility for not having them. So I think that's why it got canceled. So I think there was some miscommunication on what needed to happen. But to explain the Art Advisory Committee, about 11 years ago, I wanted to we have such a wide abundance of artists in our community. And as we were trying to think about the airport being more inclusive of the region that we are and the great things that we have, we looked both from a restaurant perspective and an art perspective to try and engage more residents. So I love art, but I have no background in art. I don't have any idea, about good art or artists. So I had asked Mayor Slay at the time if we could create an art advisory committee that was made up specifically of individuals knowledgeable of art in the region. And when I say knowledgeable, people that had proven backgrounds in either on other art commissions or with the Regional Arts Commission or running other museums, anything that could bring some talent to the table. So it's a 7-person advisory board. And what they do is they help us. I think most of you who've come through the airport, we started with 2 exhibitions 10 years ago. We now have 13 rotating exhibition sites, and all of those are for local artists. So we will put out a request for artists to put their wares, put their various art in the airport in these variety of locations. And then that Art Advisory Committee goes through all of those, makes those recommendations, and notifies those artists, works with the artist. We do pay those artists a stipend. We pay them $3,000 to be able to bring their art out to the airport, to install it, and then, to let the public see it as they travel through. Typically, those are for 4 months. During COVID, we allowed those to stay in for 9 months due to the reduced traffic. And we have been able over the past decade to bring about 76 different artists into the airport, all from a wide range of backgrounds. The other thing that we've done is we have gone out and commissioned artwork. So we have 4 different installations that we've commissioned, 5 now, I guess. The first one was the art lay install at the floor as you go into the C concourse. Last year, we did a big one on the wall as you enter the C security. We've done one to recognize Albert Bond Lambert at our 100-year celebration 2 years ago. And we just had one installed by a terrific female artist here in the community down at Terminal 2, painting a mural on that ugly concrete wall as you pull into Terminal 2. So the program is both for the rotating exhibits and it's for commission pieces. We do not use airport dollars for any of our art program. It's self-funded. So we started the Art of Travel event, which is our annual fundraiser. Obviously, we had to postpone it during COVID, but it's coming back on October the 13th. And that program, over the decade we've been doing it, has raised almost $1 million for us. That goes into a 501c3. It's not a 501c3. It's the alternate for a 501c3 within the city realms. And I forget the title of it right now, but it plays the same as a 501c3. And that allows us to put the commissions out to be able to pay the artists that exhibit here and continue to bring art into the airport. So this advisory committee is a diverse background. The current commissioners that we were seeking approval for come from the Regional Arts Commission. They come from other museums that currently have curators. So it's a wide range of 7 people, but all of them have the talent and the know-how to help us make sure that we bring good art into the airport and a diverse art program to the airport. So that's what they do. They have been, several have rotated off. The appointments initially started as 2 and 3 year rotating apart, rotating. Some, have moved out of town and moved on, so we had to replace those. The current makeup that we would be asking is Kiku Abada. Many of you may be familiar with Kiku Abada. She's been a longtime resident of the St. Louis region. We have Ellen Gale. Ellen Gale is from the Clayton Commerce, but she also runs the art program for Clayton and the Clayton Art Fair. We have Roseanne Weiss. Roseanne has been a long time person on the Regional Arts Commission. She's now retired from that, but obviously very well known in the area. Gregory Glore is one of the newest appointees. I've only met him once when we interviewed him and moved his name forward to the mayor. So an African-American gentleman, very well known within the African-American artist world, and brings a lot, I think, to the table for us as we try and make sure that we can bring more artists into the airport. We have Stephanie Whedon Smith. Stephanie has been on it for just about 1.5 years. She replaced somebody who had transferred out of the state. Also an African-American female, very involved in the art community. Then we have, our last one is Shelley Hagen. Shelley Hagen is the art curator for Wells Fargo and manages all of their, Wells Fargo has a significant art collection, and she manages all of that and their procurement and installations of arts. So that is currently the slate that will come forward. And again, they're either 2 or 3 year appointments on that. So I'm happy to answer any other questions if that did not give a good oversight of what you were looking for, Alderman Boyd.
As usual, it was a very good overview of the commission and the expectations. I just have a couple follow-up questions. Out of curiosity, do you guys celebrate different ethnic months like Black History Month, Hispanic Month, Asian American Month, or any themes like that?
Mm-hmm. We did celebrate Black History Month. We did most of that through our, we have the mural that's been here for some time, our Black Aviators mural. And we celebrated the various airmen and people that were Tuskegee Airmen every month that have ties to history and that were prominent in the Tuskegee Airmen. So every day throughout February, as we celebrated that, we did a profile on each of them, both in our Facebook and our Twitter page. Last year, we celebrated Joanne Wayne during Black History Month, and we did a rededication to her, naming, the Joanne Wayne Room was named after her. So we did a great celebration, and I know a couple of the older people came out to celebrate with us. Her family was here. We hung a portrait and sort of talked about who she was and why that room was named after her. We have not done others such as the Hispanic or the Asian month, but we can look to include that. What I will say is in our program, and we did this about 4 years ago with Solomon Thurman prior to the pandemic. Solomon Thurman's also an African-American 9th Street Gallery, very well known in the St. Louis region. And he was one of the artists that participated in painting on the Black Aviators mural. So we did a rededication of that mural, and we added a section to it which shows him as a young artist in training under the artist that did that, showing him helping to paint pieces of that. We also brought school-age children from St. Louis City Schools out. We had, at the time, we still had a Tuskegee Airman here in the St. Louis region who was alive. He has since passed, but he came out and he talked to the children about what did it mean to be a Tuskegee Airman and the value that Black aviators played in the history of that. So that's a program that we had hoped to continue. Obviously, COVID hit and we had to stop that, but it is something that we're thinking about restarting, where we can bring children in the St. Louis City Schools out here to understand the art program and really at an early age help them to understand what art can bring to the community.
Yeah, and I have to say, I just think the aviation mural is a phenomenal mural. I think it's in the past, it's actually expanded, or was it redone in the past couple of decades?
What was redone? I'm sorry.
The Tuskegee Airman mural, the mural.
It was, yeah, there had been, over the years, there had just been some fading of it. And so we wanted to make sure that it was preserved well. So we had it when I just touched up, then we put different lighting in there. Again, the Art Advisory Committee helped us with that to determine the highest quality so that there would be no impact. And so that was done, it was about 4 years ago, because that's when we had Solomon Thurman add the piece, and it's on an easel. If you ever stop by the mural, there's an easel in there with Solomon as a young artist painting under direction of the artist who did the mural. So yes, it's been fully restored, and still is very, very well known throughout the aviation industry as one of the few murals in an airport that actually is dedicated fully to the African American community.
Okay, Rhonda, I think I heard you say that some people have been serving for a couple of months because it was your understanding that they were appointed, but they have not been appointed. Did I hear you say that correctly?
Well, I think, and again, my apologies. This is the first time that, I've had this committee for 11 years, so it hasn't come in front of the board for approval in the past. So I think when I had a couple members that were terming out and one was relocating, the other just didn't have time anymore, we had submitted 2 new members, and that went through E&A or through the mayor's office. And maybe Michelle, you'll have to help me with that. But that had been approved, and I think this process has now started. So I don't know if we're backtracking, for the first part of the year to bring any new appointees through this process. I just have to make sure we communicate.
I can clarify there, if that's okay. So Alderman Boyd, we have not officially named these people. We've nominated these folks, and they're coming before this committee, hopefully depending on your all schedule and their schedule, either next Wednesday or the following Monday or Wednesday. And I know we also got some recommendations from alders this Monday for the board. So we're also reviewing those as well.
So the couple of them, I thought I heard, so 2 people left, and then the mayor's office appointed 2 people. That didn't have to come back to the Board of Aldermen?
Michelle, perhaps you can talk to that process. What we're doing now with the nominees is that they're all coming to this committee.
Yeah, so I think what ends up happening, Alderman, if I may, I think it's a matter of just clarifying. I think this is the first time that we've had these appointees sent to committee. In the past, we would just stand up on the floor of the Board of Aldermen and yay or nay type of a thing. This is the first time that the Arts Advisory Council or commission members have been sent to committee, and was done so at the request of the Alderwoman from the 1st Ward.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, it sounds like Rhonda said, well, yeah, a couple people were replaced by the mayor's office. So that meant that they're currently serving. Did I hear that wrong, Sarah?
And Alderman Boyd, that could be my mistake. I mean,
I can clarify there as well, Rhonda. The folks that are on the board right now are serving on expired terms. So they have to be reappointed. We haven't gone through that process yet. We've nominated.
Okay, I want Rhonda to clarify what she said with the 2 people that was appointed by the mayor's office. Rhonda, are those people currently serving on the board right now?
They are actively attending meetings.
Okay, but they have not officially been appointed by the Board of Aldermen.
I don't know, not by the Board of Aldermen, no.
Sarah, is that correct?
May I chime in for a second?
Sure,
Michelle.
Sure. This board, okay, like Rhonda said, this board have not been touched since the Slay administration. This board does have to go through the Board of Aldermen. This board, the mayor approves the appointment, but it does have to have the consent of the Board of Aldermen. I can't speak for what have been done in the past. I'm just going off of legislation, and legislation does say that these appointments have to be consented by the Board of Aldermen. So I'm not sure what the Slay administration, I don't know if they moved appointments, but I have appointment letters for everyone that Rhonda mentioned that's on the board. I do have appointment letters, but I'm not sure what their process was.
And then
But
to clarify,
but these appointments does require the consent of the Board of Aldermen. So they do have to go to the full board for consent.
so our process was to nominate, and now we're seeking that consent.
I get that, but what I heard Rhonda say, there were 2 people appointed because 2 people left. So if 2 people left, the two people that are now, she mentioned, are not reappointments. They are appointments, right? That
Yeah,
have been attending meetings.
Yeah, we've Alderman Boyd, we've had one meeting of the Art Advisory Committee. Both of those did attend the meeting that we had. Again, maybe it's my terminology in saying that they were appointed. We put their names forward to the mayor's office. And so I think with this new process that we have, it's just in the interim, waiting for the process to happen. So we've had one Art Advisory Committee, and those 2 individuals have attended.
Yeah, and I don't have a big issue per se, but it just seems like procedurally, we're in a quagmire, because what I would hate to see happen is those 2 people who've had an opportunity to attend a meeting and who may be excited about serving don't get appointed by the Board of Aldermen. So I just want to make sure I brought that up, because that may be an issue. But the last question I have is for, I don't know who wants to take it, but how many boards and commissions do the city have where they actually get a stipend to serve?
Actually, if Alderman Boyd, there's I think up to 12, maybe 12, 13 or something like that, boards that you can get stipends for. I can email you that information.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be great. Thank you, Michelle. I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Vaccaro.
I do have, first off, it's good and you've come quite a long way. And I don't know why my computer's doing this now. Hopefully you can hear me and see me.
Yeah, we can see and hear you.
Okay, good. My computer's acting stupid. Show me where the Eco-Devo board is on there, because it's not. And, I noticed that the Eco-Devo board is spending money. They have a lot of money to spend, and I see where they voted and spent money, even though they're not on there. Hang on, this thing here, let me get rid of this. And this, I'm sorry, my computer decided to get some spam thing going. So can you show me where the Eco-Devo board's on there, how they met, even though they didn't meet, and how that board recommended money that's being spent right now? And yes, that's somewhat criticized, but you have come a long way. I'm not, don't get me wrong, but I did see that and I looked because it was a concern. The other thing, and I just put this in there and then I'll have you answer everything at one time. The other thing that bothers me, there's a lot of people that can't afford computers. A lot of elderly people that don't even know how to use a computer, more or less have a computer. What are we doing to reach out to them? I guess, it looks to me like this is good as long as you're computer savvy, that you can get into a portal and you can look at these things. What are we doing to reach out? So first, I guess the answer would be, how did the Eco-Devo board meet to spend money when they really didn't meet? And how come they're not on the list of boards and commissions, considering that they're a very important board? They spend so many $1 million a year.
Alderman Vaccaro, you're referring to the Economic Development Tax Board, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. I don't know if I can share links in here, but I can paste in the link for where that appears on the website if I can. We can get you more information on the spending of the Eco-Devo board. I don't have that information on hand, but I'm happy to send that to you.
When did they meet last?
Michelle, do you have a record of when they met last?
I do not.
Just see their minutes online, but I can find that out for you, Alderman Vaccaro. To your other question about outreach to individuals who don't have an internet connection, that's a great point. What we previously had was a PDF application. They can still get that at our office. The other way that we're hoping to increase that outreach is going through our partners and making sure that we're doing the outreach as directly as we can, and hopefully through your all's help as well, reaching those individuals who are less connected. That's a perpetual problem with all city services, and we definitely want to be an open book to figure out how we can best meet that need. So very open to suggestions, to other community events where we can come advertise these opportunities. We want to meet folks where they are. So this is a phase. This is great. Agreed, Alderman Vaccaro, for a lot of folks who do have access to the internet, but we recognize that our city also suffers from a digital divide, and we want to, be at those community events too. So if you can keep us all posted and make sure that we can get there and talk to people, we'd love to be a part of that and reaching as many St. Louis residents as we can.
And I'll add, Alderman, the EcoDevo tax board is listed under St. Louis. It's not under EcoDevo, so you have to go down to the S's.
Okay, and the last time they met was in February of 2021. And they certainly have expired members.
One of the things that we're also trying to do, Alderman Vaccaro, is work with the boards to get more of their documents up online. This has been a transparency issue as well, with the boards not posting enough information. So we're trying to get that up too. So I can loop back with you after this to see if there are any additional minutes that haven't made it up there yet, or any additional meeting that hasn't made it up there yet. But that is something that we're going through and curating as well to make sure everything gets up.
Sarah, and I agree, you guys are doing a lot and it's moving along. I'm just also pointing out areas that I think we need to go farther. And I know you're working on the oversight committee, and I think that's coming along. And I do appreciate some of the, I just also, from an old guy point of view, that almost probably had to learn the computer after I got elected. I think that's the first time I even needed a computer, other than for solitaire maybe. It's just, there's a lot of us that are not computer savvy, and certainly, maybe we do need to go out in the community to these meetings and have, at neighborhood meetings, have applications available at the meetings so that people there can fill them out. And I know, like the Lindenwood group and Northampton and different groups meet. If we have these applications there, or at least a way that people can fill them out, hand them in and send them in, it would open these boards up to people that maybe can't afford a computer but would still like to serve on them. And again, I appreciate what you're doing, so it's a little bit of mix here. I just think we need to go farther, and I will openly say, although we'll do it in a public safety meeting too, I appreciate the efforts and the work that you guys are doing on the oversight committee for the jail, and that was a tough one to find everyone, and so anyway, so it's a little bit of praise, a little bit of criticism, and more work that needs to be done. And that's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Great. I applaud your personal growth from solitaire to Zoom and social media, Alderman.
Ain't it? I'm getting there.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Evans.
No questions. Thank you.
Welcome back. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. I know that there's 120 vacancies, I believe, and then a lot of people still serving over their term. Are there specific boards and commissions that are the absolute priorities to fill? And if there are, which ones? And I appreciate any opportunity to be helpful in doing this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, one of the areas that we have the most vacancies is on some of the development boards. So we're really going through those at the moment and trying to make sure that we fill out those boards. And so I would say that's where we're directing a lot of our attention at the moment. And we can get you a list of those boards, Alderwoman Schweitzer, if that's helpful, just so you can see some of the ones that we know have had vacancies and expired terms for a significant period of time. And we're really trying to get that addressed.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that, you know, I can certainly go through the list on my own and see when I speak to community groups what it is and what the boards might be. But if there were a list of priorities and ones would have, you know, most vacancies, just to prioritize what sort of outreach is actually the most helpful for you, that would be great. I appreciate that. That's my only question.
Thank you, Alderwoman. The only other alderperson I see on the line is Alderwoman Rice. Do you have any questions, Alderwoman?
Hi, good morning. Thanks so much, Mr. Chair, for letting me jump in here. Thanks so much to the mayor's staff for this presentation and for this effort. I think it's been really helpful to start talking about, you know, how to even start looking for the right people for these spaces. So just wanted to be sure. I've had people say, you know, hey, what board do you think I would be good at? And I take a look at the list and go, there's a whole lot of boards and commissions, right? So I have them go through and say, you know, which of these things are interesting to you? Which do you have background in? You know, do you have training, that kind of thing? Is there a specific point of contact? Is Michelle our point of contact, or is Angela our point of contact to refer people to that have questions about what the boards do or how often they meet, what those requirements are?
Yes, absolutely. So for liaisoning with the board, we want to point you towards Kevin Bailey for following up on, you know, the basic qualifications on the boards of commissions. He's always going to consult with Michelle as well to make sure that we're pointing you in the right direction. But the first point of contact for, if you have someone in mind, should be Kevin, just to let us know. And then if you're more in the vetting process of Alderwoman Rice trying to explore that question of, you know, where do this person's qualifications fit in and how might they align with the board? Michelle is really well equipped to answer those questions. She's a walking encyclopedia of boards and commissions. So if you're looking for the right fit, she can be your matchmaker there.
Wonderful. That's very helpful. Thank you so much.
Is that all, Alderwoman?
Yep, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't see any other alder people on the line. I'm just going to go through the list one more time just to double check. And I don't. Yeah, so thank you very much, Angela, Sarah, and Shelley for attending this morning and providing us with this presentation and the updates and insights related to our boards and commissions in the city of St. Louis. I would just ask if you could, as a follow-up, send the link to the page. I have it up on my computer right now, but I would like to just forward this out to our colleagues just to make sure that it's in their inbox once again. And along with the presentation that you provided this morning as well, I would really appreciate that. And then do any of the three of you have additional information? I see Kevin Bailey is also on the line. Not sure if Kevin has any questions or comments as well from the mayor's office.
I don't think we have any additional info to share at this time, but we'll make sure to get that email to you, Alderman Cohen, so you can get it out to folks that you might want to let know about the opportunities.
Wonderful. I'm just kind of going through the website as people were asking questions, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm super proud of the work that you all have done to compile the information, get it out there into the public domain, and just makes my heart warm to make it just makes it seem like the city's functioning. So thank you again so much for your time this morning. Obviously, there's still some questions and work that need to be done, but this is obviously a lot of work that's been undertaken over the last year and certainly moving in the right direction. So thank you again. With that, I don't have any additional items on the agenda. The other, I guess, topic of discussion, I still need to schedule time with the airport folks in terms of doing an overview of their the airport terminal plan, and then also the airport finance director was going to provide just updates to the committee with respect to the different funds and allocations over the airport so that the committee members and general public have a nice overview of that going forward. I will probably try and add to that agenda if it's not too long well, actually, it'll probably be a separate meeting because I know the terminal plan will probably have some questions. But I'll try and schedule an additional meeting with the Port Authority to talk about their various funds and where the revenue, especially since we're seeing such a wonderful increase in revenue for the Port Authority, where those monies will be going and how they get spent. So those are the two action items on my part that I'm going to be following up on for members of the committee. If there's anything else, if there's any questions or items that the committee would like to discuss further, can you raise your hands or chime in here? Let me know. I am taking the silence as there's no further discussion. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'll make that motion if nobody else wants to.
Second.
Great. All right. With the motion and the second, the Transportation and Commerce Committee has adjourned. Thank you all for your time this morning.
Thank you.